Good evening. It is 6:30. Members of council are assembled when you're ready to begin.
Thank you very much, Don. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order this regular council meeting of the Council of the Town of Saugeen Shores, and welcome all members to our new digs, temporary digs here at the Nuclear Innovation Institute. Thanks to staff for getting everything set up in here, and we're looking forward to spending the next year or so here as the pool gets under construction or carries on construction. So with that, our second item on the agenda is the land acknowledgement. The Vice Deputy Mayor has that.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We acknowledge that we are meeting on the traditional lands and treaty territory of the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, which consists of the Chippewas of Saugeen and the Chippewas of Nawash unceded First Nation. We understand this land holds immense significance to the people of Saugeen Ojibwe Nation. We appreciate those who live and work alongside us today and who continue the traditions of their ancestors as stewards of the land we are privileged to inhabit. We thank them for the contributions they made in both caring for the land and in shaping this community. We commit to truth and reconciliation, to acknowledging the truth about what happened to Indigenous peoples because of colonization, and to reconciliation, which began with each and every one of us. As a local government and public organization, we are dedicated to learning about Indigenous culture, to fostering a better relationship with First Nations and their people, and we commit ourselves to actions that move us forward on a path to healing along with the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation.
Thank you very much. Third item on the agenda is disclosure of pecuniary interest. Ask any member if you have one of those you'd like to declare at this time. Seeing none, of course, you can do that anytime if you need to. No additions, deletions, or amendments. And that takes us all the way down to item 10, which is report of municipal officers and committees. And the first one is a staff report on the Learn Fit Site Plan Control Application, SP 2024-002. And we will turn that over to Candace Ham for the report.
Thank you, Mayor Charbonneau. Good evening, Mayor and Council. My report this evening is presented for information. A site plan control application has been submitted by the owners of 78 Albert Street South for the construction of a 1,400 square foot, one-story commercial addition to the existing Learn Fit 24-hour gym. The proposal conforms with the Town of Saugeen Shores official plan and complies with the provisions of the Town of Saugeen Shores bylaw. In 2021, a site plan control agreement between the town and the property owner was entered into to facilitate the construction of a previous addition. It has been acknowledged by the owner that site works from the 2021 agreement, such as an accessible parking signage and landscaping, remain outstanding. The property owners have indicated that they are agreeable to incorporating the outstanding works into the new site plan control agreement. In terms of the design guidelines, the guidelines outlined in the subdivision and site plan development guide are applicable to this site. The property is within the Albert Street South district, and the town's guidelines recommend that new development be consistent with the residential character of the area and that the front facade integrity be maintained. The scale of the proposed addition is consistent with the residential character in the area, and although the proposed addition will not front onto Albert Street South, Highway 21, the facade will match that of the existing building. To support the streamlined implementation of this development, town staff is in a position to recommend approval of the drawings and to negotiate a site plan control agreement with the property owner that incorporates the works that are carried over from the previous agreement. That concludes my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. So there is a resolution that council received the Learn Fit Site Plan Control Application, SP 2024-002 for 78 Albert Street South. Report for information. Is there a mover and seconder for that resolution? Moved by the Vice Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Davinsky. Questions or comments from members? The Deputy Mayor, and then we'll work our way down.
Thank you, and through you, if I could just ask a question, perhaps of Candace or the director. When a site plan control agreement is put in place, what is the normal expectation in terms of items within the site plan control agreement being realized? Is there a time limit kind of thing? Like how does that play out? I'm not necessarily against what this application is all about, but I'm just hoping for clarification of how that normally plays out. How do we ensure that what is in a site plan control agreement actually gets implemented? Thank you. And I have a second question.
Through you, Mayor Charbonneau. Yes, the terms of the agreement typically include a date where the works are to be completed by. That date in this instance has come and gone. And so discussions with the applicant were that they were willing to take those works on as part of what happens moving forward with a new agreement. There are securities that are collected as part of that agreement as well. And the idea is that if the date that the works are to be completed by comes and goes, that those securities are then forfeited to the town.
Okay, thank you. Well, my second question was related to dollar values of securities, because of course the report suggests that there's a revenue of $633.04 associated with the application, but there's additional securities beyond that. That's what you were just mentioning, right? Thank you very much.
Okay, the Vice Deputy Mayor.
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I'd just like to commend the owners for expanding an already successful business over there. I did tour that property. Of course, my doctor lives just next door, so I had a good look, and it's just good use and fits in with the character of the neighborhood, I believe. And I just wanted to say it's nice to see that this is coming to council tonight with a recommendation, and that we receive it. But I'm just wondering, Candace, through you to Candace, with this kind of an application, is there a notification period, that's already happened way back during the planning process, or are residents re-notified when something like this happens?
Through you, Mayor Charbonneau. No, the site plan control process doesn't require public notification. So if the property was previously zoned to allow the gym, that would have happened
Right.
Prior to the 2021
Right.
timeframe.
I thought that, but I just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Thank you. Further questions or comments? Councillor Davinsky.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, probably to Candace, I want to go back to the beginning when the facility was being constructed. And by the way, it's a great facility. There's no doubt about that. And it's a welcome addition to Southampton, and it's part of the BIA as well. But there were a lot of people talking about how close to the sidewalk it was, the front of the building, how close it was to the sidewalk. Now, we probably can't change anything now, but I'm wondering, is that going to come back and haunt us somewhere down the road if the town wants to do something and has its right of way, if you will, or has that all been looked into?
Through you, Mayor Charbonneau. The zoning for this property is that it's within the commercial core. And so the setbacks to the front lot line are actually 0, I believe them to be. And so in the interest of allowing commercial developments to happen, those setbacks in our bylaw are essentially 0.
That's great to hear. I didn't know that. Thank you very much for that. As far as the landscaping goes, do we know in the thin strip they have in the front of the building, will there be some decorative bushes put in, or will it strictly be the grass that's in there now? Or does that come up with the site plan control?
My apologies. Through you, Mayor Charbonneau, the site plan that was included in my report actually shows the landscaping that is to be included as part of the proposal. And so this is the works that was carried forward from the 2021 agreement.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, further questions or comments from members? I don't see any, so you've heard the resolution, and I'll ask all in favor. That's carried. Okay, so now we're on to our second report, which is on the 2024 municipal housing allowance, and we'll turn that over to the Director of Development Services.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This report is about implementing divisional highlight for the Planning and Development Division in the 2024 business plan, which is to increase the town's transfer to the Bruce County Housing Allowance, increasing it from 75,000 to 150,000. This increase was approved in the 2024 budget. And this would mean that the existing 10 households units would be continue to be supported. And with this change, we'll be adding 10 more units starting on July 1. So that's the essence of the purpose of it, and it's implemented through a memorandum of understanding, which is included later in the bylaw section of the agenda.
Thank you. So there is a resolution that council adopt a bylaw to authorize the Director of Development Services to enter into an agreement with the County of Bruce to transfer funds to the county to supplement the municipal housing allowance program. Is there a mover and seconder? The Deputy Mayor, the Vice Deputy Mayor. Questions or comments? The Vice Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I just, this is great work, Mark, and I really applaud Mayor and Council for, stepping forward and allocating $75,000 again in the 2025 budget, or 2024 budget, I should say. So it's 150,000, and hopefully that $75,000 will continue for 2025, 26 and onward. And I think anything we can do as a council to lower our application wait list from the, I think, 600 now down into, let's someday, hopefully it'll be eliminated. Wouldn't that be great? But Mark, through you, Mr. Mayor, to Mark, just wondering, Mark, if, that's 20 subsidies, so go from 600 to 580, that's a start, humble beginning, not near enough, obviously, but are we still, and maybe you can get back to council on this if you don't mind, but, I don't want us to be penalized in any way, shape, or form that we're subsidizing 20 families with our 150 and penalized, by the county for putting in our money, and we don't get the fair lion's share from county monies for other rent subsidies. So I don't know whether you have the answer tonight or not, but Mark, how many, maybe you could find out and send us a note, but how many other rental subsidies at $590 a month? How many other rental subsidies are happening between the county and Saugeen Shores? And of course, there's 8 municipalities in the county. I'm sure they all get their share, but are we being treated fairly with their funds?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I meant to mention while I was introducing the report was that we're joined this evening by staff from Bruce County Housing, who probably are best positioned to answer that question if we can have them pop up. They've joined on Zoom.
That'd be great.
To answer that.
Yeah, sure. Who do we have from Bruce County?
We have Tanya Dixon.
Oh, Tanya's here. We're gonna try
Becky
out.
Lowry.
We're gonna try out the technology. We're gonna see how it goes here.
Yes, I think Tanya's called in, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Oh. So we have Christy on then, do we?
Yes, we do.
All right. Christy, can you speak to that question that the Vice Deputy Mayor raised?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I can definitely get back to how many rent subsidies we have. I know with the municipal housing allowances, we have the municipal housing allowance in Bruce County. There's 27 people on that one who receive 590, and 10 of them are from Saugeen Shores. Plus, then we'll have the additional 20 from Saugeen Shores, and then we also have different rent subsidies over the years, and I can't tell you offhand how many people are from Saugeen Shores on those rent subsidies, but they're definitely represented through those. We do not take people from other rent subsidies to put them into this housing allowance. We take these directly off the wait list to add, and we will to add to the new Saugeen Shores, the 10 spots for the housing allowance for Saugeen Shores.
Yeah, so Mr. Mayor, just to follow up, and that's good news. And if you could go back to this council, I think that the housing wait list, application wait list is around 600. It used to be, I thought, around 350, so it's really increased. And it'd be interesting to know why over a 2-3 year period, it's gone from 325, I think, up to 600. It's almost doubled. There's got to be some reasoning for that. So that would be interesting to know, maybe a written report back to this council. That would be helpful. And secondly, rent subsidies, the 590, if a person in Saugeen Shores is receiving that subsidy and move don't sound, that rent subsidy would discontinue, obviously, and you would rent subsidize a new Saugeen Shores resident. Is that correct?
Yes, we would.
Okay. So if you could get back to this council, I'd be interested to know, do you have any data? Can you quantify at all why the application wait list has gone from like 325 to 600 over the last 3-4 years? Could you?
Yes, we can do
Comment on
that for you. Mhm.
Okay, you have no comment tonight?
I
Can you-
think
can you-
I can talk to Tanya Dixon, who is our housing manager, and we can put together something for that. There's definitely we've seen a large increase as well after COVID and with the cost of housing. So there's lots of factors. So yes, we'd be happy to put something together for you.
And my final question is, from a rental subsidy standpoint, it seems to me that there's not near enough funds to go around with rental subsidies. Are we actively lobbying the provincial government for additional rental subsidies to help our residents get into housing?
Bruce County, there's different projects that they're involved in. We're also involved with the Canadian Alliance to End Homelessness, and one of their branches, that's what they're dedicated to, is to lobby the government.
That's happening. Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
So I have Grace and then Stack.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thanks, Mark and Christy, for the report, and Tanya too. Um, I I just had a comment about the secondary report that Tanya provided, giving the status update as of March 31st. And I just thought it was interesting and good to know that obviously this policy and how it's being carried out is being continually monitored, and that there were 3 people who hopefully it says they were removed from the program due to income levels. So hopefully that is good news for them,
Mhm.
that they are able to, um, be able to be independent, hopefully, and that 3 new people were added to the program. So I just found it interesting and good news, I guess, that the policy is being obviously monitored, and it's sort of a living policy, which is good, because it shows that our staff is reaching out to people and constantly collecting information and evaluating it. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Stack.
Thank you. Just a quick question of clarification, and I think it's just my inability to count. So in 2023, we had 21 people receiving subsidies, 10 from 10 from our funding, 11 from the county. So in 2024, we're going to have 20 funded by Saugeen Shores and only 10 funded from the county. So are we actually losing one? Do we have one less person on the list, or are we receiving one less person worth of funding? Because it did look like we added someone on the list in this year. So I'm just looking at that one delta.
I can clarify that. One person in the municipal housing allowance recently contacted us that they've left Bruce County, so they no longer qualified for the program.
Okay, thank you. And so do we still have the available funding for what that one person would be from the county if an additional person is in need?
Yes, so then we go back to the wait list, and for the municipal housing allowance, then the wait list is through the whole county.
Thank you.
Okay, further questions or comments from members? As a comment, we were just at a couple of events last week where housing was discussed. Housing Forum, Bruce County Housing Forum, which is all about housing, and Bruce Power event too, which had some interesting information about housing. And clearly this is one of the top issues facing the people of our community. We also heard at that Housing Forum that as much as the bottom 60% of people in our community struggle to afford housing, even at what we might consider municipally to be affordable rents. So we clearly have a very, very significant need across our community. And I quoted to this council a little while ago the number of people who are accessing emergency shelter services across the county now has increased by 500% over the last 5 years. 11,000 nights of shelter provided in 2023 by the county. And as the Vice Deputy Mayor pointed out, that housing registry wait list keeps going up. So we have lots and lots of information demonstrating the extent of the housing crisis in our community, and over and above the crisis, people who are even relatively affluent struggling to afford to get themselves into housing, not only here but everywhere. So this is a relatively small program, but getting to be a bigger program. 30 families now supported by this program, which is not going to solve the whole problem, but also not insignificant. Hopefully we can continue to grow that, and that helps those people earning minimum wage, who are an important group of people in our community who do important work in our community, and we need them living here. So it's just another important piece of programming that we have that's helping in a small but significant way to fight that housing crisis that we're facing and that we're hearing more and more about. So I'm very pleased to support it, and looking forward next year to seeing this program grow again. Vice Deputy Mayor.
Just one last comment, if I might, again, through you to the county. In the report that you sent off to Saugeen Shores Council, if you would, I would be very interested to know, as I'm sure all of council will want to know, about the next housing build, affordable housing build. The last one was in Kincardine 2-3 years ago. Before that, it was 8 or 10 years here, right here in Saugeen Shores. We no doubt have the highest number of residents per capita on the application wait list. I surely hope that I'm sure all of council would wish the same thing, that the next housing build happens here in Saugeen Shores. So maybe pass on to Tanya and staff. Could you make a comment to just bring us up to date in your report where the county's at with the next 40, 50, 60 unit build? That would be helpful as well.
Yeah, I'm sure the county will do that, and I can certainly advise that the county is advancing that actively at this time. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, and through you. I really appreciate all the comments that have been said, and you're right, 30 is not going to solve the problem, but it's better than 0. So, I think the momentum is slowly starting to happen. I would, at some point though, the issue of affordable housing, and I realize this agenda item is very specific to the housing allowance program, but we've had some incentives put in play. We've had some development proposals come forward where we've been told that some things are happening and being created. At some point, I would respectfully request that we hear whether or not there's been any success with some of those things, so we know which incentives at least are catching the attention and having some legs and some potential, so that some of that stuff can be perhaps enhanced or encouraged. And the things that aren't working, we start to say, no, we're not going to do that anymore. We're going to try something else. I also, still think that at some point during this term of council, we need to have a very serious discussion about short-term rentals in our community. It's not that they're necessarily bad, because yes, there's a tourism economic element here. However, I've been hearing more and more recently from people who are looking for places to live, and they're hearing, well, you can stay here from a date in the fall, late in the fall, usually the end of October, till the early spring for a very high price, but then you got to get out. Well, people who are working here in jobs at the hospital and other places around town that are either lower income situations or really in the medium category or the middle income category, they need a place to live for 12 months of the year. And they can't afford a house. They want a rental place, but 6 months of the year isn't cutting it. And these short-term rentals are showing up all over the community, and not just in traditional cottage type, fairly close to the lake kinds of situations. So I hope at some point we get a little more fulsome report, and I don't know when that might be, just about some of the ways we're trying to do more than just a housing allowance, because we have initiated some things, and I would like to know if they've been successful. Thank you.
Sure. I don't know, this director, is that something that can be done over the course of the next while?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, we can take that away and bring something back that gives council a sense of whether and how we're moving the needle.
Very good. Okay, so if there's nothing further, you've heard the resolution. It's moved and seconded, so I'll ask all in favor. That is carried. All right, and the third and final report is Community Improvement Plans background, and the Manager Development Services has that report.
Thank you very much, Mayor Charbonneau, and I want to, take the opportunity with this report, rather to go skip to the presentation, because the idea is that this is be used as a bit of a lead-in background presentation to what will be future discussions on community improvement planning. So I'm not sure, should I be using this pointer? Okay, so I've got, and I just have to start, eh? There we go. It works. And I'm not competent. There we are. So what are CIPs? And, I can dictate this a little bit. I'll do my best. Is that a CIP, or Community Improvement Plan, describes what a municipality intends to do to address a variety of community issues, be they physical, social, such as affordable housing, economic or environmental, or say a combination of those. So a social and economic issue like affordable housing can be, this can be a tool to help address that. And that CIPs are a flexible, comprehensive, coordinated, and strategic framework for dealing with lands and buildings. And so through the CIPs, towns can focus the attention on local priorities, affordable housing, I might say that a few times, target areas in transition or need of repair or redevelopment. And so like the vitality of the downtowns. They can facilitate and encourage community change in a coordinated manner, I say, and stimulate investment through municipal incentive-based programs, a la Innovation Park. CIPs are also discretionary, which is sort of leads to the next slide. And the discretion is laid out under the authority in the Planning Act. The Planning Act is what allows municipalities to prepare CIPs to establish the framework to support and implement the programs. And the Act lays out fairly high level requirements to that CIPs, if they are prepared, they allow the town to acquire, hold, and deal with land, construct, repair, rehabilitate, sell, lease, or dispose of any town land, or make grants or loans to landowners or tenants. But they need to be expressed in the official plan first, and our official plan does enable community improvement plans. The OP has an enabling policy that says that in general terms that a municipality may use the CIP, in this case us, and general policy on how they may be used. And in our case, the policy says they can be used for economic development, the establishment and incentives for business parks or industrial parks, affordable housing, downtown improvements, facade improvements, and other planning objectives. Through CIPs, there's a suite of tools, and I'll just, if most people are familiar with grants and loans, this is the Spruce to Bruce model, in which a town can offer money and the landowner can do something for that money. So, and they can either do the work, so install a new sign, for example, if that's something our CIP encourages, or it could be for design work, so the costs for studies or architects or designers, those can all be eligible for grants or loans. One that's quite common throughout Ontario, but is often not implemented, is what's called property tax increment equivalent grants. And these are grants that are essentially offset the increase as a result of development. And so you can reduce or eliminate the municipal portion of property tax over a period of time. And then they're implemented through agreements. Another tool is just the reduction, the waiving, or otherwise early or late payment for municipal fees, such as development charges, building permit fees, tipping fees, planning fees, any fee that you can imagine that are outlined in our municipal fees bylaw. A few words on Spruce to Bruce, and for our downtown CIPs, Spruce to Bruce, and I'm not sure how long it's been around, at least a dozen years. Spruce to Bruce is a program run by the County of Bruce Economic Development, and they support local community businesses and municipalities and the partners. It offers a range of grants and incentives for all sorts of improvements, mainly in the downtown, but they made changes in 2022 to expand the range of eligible developments. And we can highlight those if you wish. Currently, the town has 3 CIPs, one for downtown Southampton, one for downtown Port Elgin. And they are, as I mentioned, implemented through Spruce to Bruce, and they offer opportunities for facade improvements, for new sidewalk patios, for storefront signage or accessibility improvements. The town also has an economic development CIP, and it's targeted to stimulate new investment, business retention, or affordable housing developments. And we offer the identified relief through development charges relief, municipal fee reductions, local improvement costs, property tax relief, or potential land acquisition or disposition rather. And currently we've activated that CIP in support of Innovation Park. We are looking to update our CIPs. In fact, we're looking to consolidate them. But in doing so, there's an opportunity to update and align with changes to this Bruce to Bruce programming. And just so you're aware, in a process very similar to the zoning bylaw amendment, a notice to the public is provided of a public meeting, public meetings held, and the town adopts the plan. And yeah, I guess no further comment there. Oh, is that it? That is the last slide. So that's the end of the presentation. Any questions? There's Amanda's here as well to help assist if you need some assistance.
Okay, so there is a resolution. The council received the Community Improvement Plan background report for information. Is there a mover and seconder for that? Moved by the Vice Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Grace. Questions or comments from members? Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. And through you, if I could ask for a little more clarification about the economic development CIP, sorry, when you mentioned this, you could follow along quite easily with the slide. However, then you ended with it was implemented to support the innovation park. Is the content of the economic development CIP available elsewhere in the community, or is it very specific to innovation park?
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor, the CIP can be activated, at least this CIP in particular can be activated anywhere in this settlement area. And in fact, if we want to implement anywhere else, we have to come back to council, provide that sort of scope of work, what we really want to target and the range of incentives. So like Innovation Park, we apply those principles to, another part of town or another type of development. So it's specifically affordable housing instead of industrial park development.
Just to clarify, because the language is a little confusing there, I kind of get the confusion. The economic development CIP wasn't created to support the Innovation Park. It has been implemented in support of the Innovation Park, right? Like we implemented it to cover the whole community to do all sorts of things, not just support the Innovation Park. I'm understanding what you're saying there correctly, am I?
I think that's appropriate clarification.
Sorry, the Deputy Mayor.
The use of the expression, it can be activated. How does it get activated?
So the town would develop a program which we would then offer to for the intended purpose. So it just, we need to have some guidelines and tools and policies that tell us how to make a decision in support of that, and support if there's budgetary needs. For example, a grant program, we'd need to make sure the budget's set aside for those grants.
So as the last one, I do have another question, but I'll wait till after other people speak. How do we then get to the point where, when you say the town will do this, how do we as council get to the point where we encourage that kind of activation? When do you think that might come up on an agenda here, or is it outside of our control? Is it gone off in a different direction already?
Well, there's a few different ways, I think. I mean, firstly, the Spruce to Bruce, I've mentioned it through the presentation, but it is the main program that the town supports for the downtown improvements, the building facade, building restoration, accessibility, et cetera. We could go on a case-by-case basis, and there is a framework that was developed for the economic development CIP, and it's meant to be on an application basis. So an applicant for, say, an affordable housing project could apply through that framework, and a report would be brought to council outlining what their request is and an explanation and further consideration. Or we could develop a general program like we did with Innovation Park, targeting any particular use, investment, or otherwise for activating that.
Just one further thought. So someone in the community who would be interested in this application process, is the point of contact you?
Well, certainly currently Planning and Development Division of Development Services is the contact. So me or Heather Hyde at Economic Development, or in the case of coordinating with Spruce to Bruce, Amanda Monahan.
Further comments, the Vice Deputy?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Jay, through you to Jay. Jay, we've talked in length about deeming certain lands surplus for the purpose of constructing affordable housing, which we desperately, as we heard earlier, desperately need in this community. We're ticking away at it, nipping away at the number, but it's coming down fairly slowly over 3-4 years. But we will get there. But when you talk about these project areas, is it fair to assume should we be creating CIP areas, project areas for? I'm going to name a few areas: the Blue Water Lands, Cameron Park, Three Sheets Brewing, for example. Those parcels of land that will be perhaps one day deeming surplus. What are the advantages then to declaring those as CIP project areas? Would it help the cause, Jay, when we're about to set out to build some affordable housing on those 3 parcels of land, just as an example?
No, it's not necessary. In fact, the CIP already identifies the entire settlement areas as a project area. So, and it offers that maximum flexibility that we have. So if we identify the Blue Water Lands, for example, as we're going through that process through the town on lands policy, if we want to build in the incentives that are related to that from the CIP, it can be done as well because we have the framework in place.
Okay. Okay. I'm a little confused because you had mentioned Southampton, Port Elgin, BA downtowns, and you mentioned one other area, I think, but there was no mention.
Yeah, we have 3 currently. So
Right.
downtown South, downtown Port, and then the settlement area that looks at economic development activity.
The entire settlement area. Gotcha.
Not the town, the settlement area. So it's that, and in the official plan, that boundary that takes in Port and South,
Okay.
plus a lot of Saugeen Township.
So we could easily, look at those 3 areas, right, and create some benefits there from a CIP project area within the settlement area. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Got it.
Further questions or comments? I wonder, Jay, as part of this process of consolidation, I think it's a good thing that we're consolidating all 3. It'll make it easier, I think, for folks to understand and to see everything in one place. But I wonder, is there an opportunity to expand, or is it envisioned that we will expand the area that the CIP covers to the entire extent of the municipality?
Yeah, that's another good point. We've got our advice from our county partners, and they've advised that we could expand it to the entire town. It offers the maximum flexibility, and so if we want to start with that and then scope from there, we can do that.
Yeah, well, I would really support that. I think there's lots of opportunity for things that we might wish to incentivize to happen outside of the settlement area. And I can't see a reason to constrain ourselves on that front. So I think that would certainly be a good thing to advance. But I really think it's positive that we're going to align these, that we're consolidating them, and that we're going to align them with the work the county has done to expand Spruce the Bruce, and to hopefully strengthen our position to be able to use these CIPs to incentivize the kinds of development that we want to see in the community. That's the reason for a CIP. Municipalities aren't just in the normal course of things able to directly incentivize certain commercial or activity or industrial activity. And so in order to do that, we require community improvement plans to be in place. And so it's a good tool for us to have in place. It's a good tool for us to keep revisiting and revising, particularly as we're dealing with affordable housing and at this moment where we're looking to hopefully incentivize some more aggressive affordable housing projects across the municipality. Taking this opportunity to look at it and make sure we're maximizing our opportunities under the CIPs is smart. So pleased to see this advancing and appreciate the re-education on CIPs. It was good of you to do that, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask, because even if there aren't necessarily people online right now, our pickup on YouTube is growing. So I had some questions after the last council meeting when we had a recommendation that council receive something for information. And I had some questions about what that really meant, because people wanted to know if that item would be on the agenda tonight for adoption. And I believe that items that are recommended that they're received for information, when they show up again, they show up still as for information. The actual adoption of something would come from a different kind of report. Is that, so I wanted to just ask for a comment about when we receive something for information, how does that flow through? Because there were some questions after the Cottage Streets report last week about where it goes after it's received for information. So I thought I'd take this opportunity to just ask for a comment about that. Thank you.
Sure, we'll address that to the clerk.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Charbonneau. So every report can be slightly different. However, when it's received for information, quite often the intent is for council to be providing feedback, direction, some sort of advice to staff as to how they want that particular item to go. And quite often that'll be what'll come out of a report for information. Sometimes a report for information is just that, and it's, shall we say, more of an update or providing, shall we say, more statistical data, such as something to do with the building permit numbers. Exactly. Thank you, sir. So that quite often is what'll happen. In other situations, it will come back the very next council meeting. Sometimes it might take a little bit longer, depending on the amount of work that is required to bring it up to what council is requesting.
Okay. Anything further on this report? If not, you've heard the report or recommend it is heard the resolution. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? That's carried. Okay, so that's the end of the reports. We're now on to, we have no motions or notices of motions. We're on to item 12, which is bylaws. One bylaw there. And it's resolved that bylaw 31, 2024 is hereby read a first, second, and third time and finally passed and sealed this 15th day of April, 2024. Is there a mover and seconder? Moved by the Vice Deputy Mayor, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. Questions or comments? If not, all in favor? Oh, did you have a question? Sorry, Mike. The Vice Deputy Mayor, sorry.
And this is the one-time payment of $150,000 bylaw we're talking about?
Yes, it's municipal housing allowance.
Yes, that's correct. They had a couple things circled. So to you to Mark, on funding 1.1, the town agrees to transfer $150,000 to the county as a one-time payment. So I'm hoping, this is an annual contribution via our tax levy. I'm hoping that it's not one time in terms of it's not in the tax levy. Could you just clarify that? Is this $150,000 in our tax levy now?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the $150,000 is fully funded through the tax-supported operational budget this year.
That's good news. And so the comment is in the bylaws is as a one-time payment, and then termination 4.1. The agreement is effective from the date of this agreement is executed and ends 1 year from such date, after which time it may be renewed by mutual agreement. So are we saying that, like for me, it'd be nice to know that it's in tax levy. It's transferred over automatically every year. Whereas what we're saying, Mr. Mayor, Mark, that we have to approve this every year in December, January in our budget. Is that correct?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we've been doing this as a 1 year agreement because we've been We've had the intention and direction from council to advance increases to it each year. And so when we established the $75,000 transfer last year, we knew we would be trying to increase it to 150 this year, so we made it 1 year. Similarly, this year, we're increasing to 150. We'll be proposing in the next budget to increase to 225. And so we'll be back this time next year to increase it to 225. And if that's the stable kind of floor that we want to maintain over the long term, we would then probably make that a long-term agreement.
There you go. That's the answer I was looking for. Thank you.
Okay, any further questions? I don't see any, so I'll ask all in favor. That's carried. All right, then we're on to 13, the confirmatory bylaw is a resolution that bylaw 32, 2024, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council of the town of Saugeen Shores, is hereby read a first, second, and third time and finally passed and sealed this 15th day of April, 2024. Mover and seconder. Moved by Davinsky, seconded by Stack. All in favor? That's carried. And finally, there's a resolution that this regular council meeting of April 15th, 2024 hereby adjourns at 7:16 PM. Mover and seconder, please, the deputy mayor and Councillor Stack. All in favor? Councillor